Hi everybody, today as part of the CISE seminar series we have the pleasure to host Fernando Casal Bértoa, who is professor at the University of Nottingham, and he had just presented us a very nice paper co-authored with Till Weber about the effect of presidential regimes on party system stability. So now I'm immediately asking Fernando, what is the rationale about this paper, and indeed what you find and what you have established through this paper about the link between these two very important variables?
Well, basically, there has been a lot of, institutional change in later years in terms of, the way presidents are being elected. You have, for example, Georgia or Armenia, where, the president is now being elected by parliament. You have the case of the Czech Republic or Moldova, where they change from being elected by parliament to being changed directly. You have also, populist leaders and populist politicians. You have the case of Turkey, where also direct presidential elections were introduced in 2014. Here in Italy, Fratelli d'Italia, in Germany, Alternative for Deutschland are pushing for the direct election of the president. So what we wanted to know here is to what extent, direct presidential elections not only may have a negative impact on, the consolidation of democracy, like, the great Juan Lind maintained, but, to what extent it affects the way party politics, develop in a country. And basically what we find here, and you can see, the scheme on slide, is that, presidential elections have a, negative effect on the level of party system closure, party system stability, not only directly in the sense that in presidential elections, there is an interference of the presidential arena on the legislative arena, but also via, two different, moderators, which are the number of electoral parties in the system and the level of institutionalization of political parties. In those countries where the president is directly elected, the number of parties tend to be high, the level of institutionalization of political parties low, and therefore this has, an immediate, effect on the way, the predictability of interactions of political parties at the time of government formation.
Well, that's interesting also to highlight that this finding is not only in a small set of countries, but you find this in a very large data set covering most democracies in the world. So if you can spend a word about your data set and which countries are included here.
Yes, of course. I think that, the importance of this, the paper is not only, the discovery and also, the sophistication of the methods that we use, but also, as you mentioned, the data set. This is, made using a unique data set that looks at all European democracies in Europe since the Second French Republic in 1848. So basically, covers, both, the Western European part of the continent, the Eastern European part, and we also even include some post-Soviet democracies that are considered part of European continent, like Russia, Moldova, Georgia, or Armenia. So certainly, it covers, 48 different countries, 64 party systems, around 75 different, political regimes, and 169 years of European history.
Well, my last question is, what is the current status of this paper? Is just a paper, is under review somewhere, or there will be a follow-up or something like that?
Well, the paper is currently under review, but of course, the idea would be to have a follow-up using, case studies, because as I presented today, this is most, a large N, quantitative analysis, but the idea would be, to focus on specific cases where we could use, for example, process tracing in order to look at the specific, mechanisms that link presidential election via, these different variables towards, party system closure.
Well, once again, thank you very much, Fernando, and for all of you interested in this paper, you can download it from our webpage.